Hey everyone, welcome to Continuous Thunder. Today we are talking about Mystic Truth, the new album from Bad SUNS, out now on Epitaph Records. Bad SUNS are an American band who play alternative, almost post-punky, almost dance rock that takes just as much inspiration from bands like Duran Duran and the Police as they do Joy Division. Bad SUNS first caught my attention back in 2014 with their debut album Language and Perspective and the single Cardiac Arrest. I was just very impressed with the interesting energy, just a lot of fun with their dance rocky tracks and everything. And most importantly, they had a lot of very interesting and catchy hooks with their synths and their guitars with what they did. A couple of years later, in 2016, they came out with Disappear Here, which was pretty much in the same vein as Language and Perspective. There was nothing that stuck with me quite as much as songs like Cardiac Arrest and Rearview did, but it was still pretty good. It still had those hooks that caught my ear, demanded my attention, and I bobbed my head to it quite a bit. There was another just all-around fun album from the group. Mystic Truth is the band's third album, and with this one they make some significant changes. Most notably is the presence of piano in more than half of the songs. It's right there, front and center with the first track on the album, so you know that something's going to be a little different with this album right from the get-go. And the piano bit might have been maybe the album cover was a bit of a warning because it's right there. However, some of the changes that were made on this album are a little more questionable than just throwing a piano into the mix. First off, the mixes on this album are relatively flat. On their first two albums, there's a really big dynamic range. The guitars are really chimey. They're right out there out front with their arpeggiated riffs and everything. There's a lot of fun bounciness to the lyrics. There's the bass is often right there, nice and punchy. But with this album, everything is, like I said, just kind of relatively flat, a little quieter. Notably, the guitar is much further back in the mix. On some tracks like Hold Your Fire and Howling at the Sun, it has those arpeggiated, chimey tracks like they would have on their first album, but they're pushed so far back that you can barely hear them, and they get kind of swallowed in the mix. Another point to mention is this album feels very comfortable, not just in composition but also in performance. There aren't really any moments on this album where I'm picking up on any excitement from anyone in the band. Even on tracks where you think that they're going to be building to something big, they just kind of stay right in the middle. Things never seem to get too raucous or exciting. Despite all this, the songs aren't bad. There is still some level of personality in both lyrics and composition here. There's been kind of a trend lately whenever someone comes out with an indie rock album where basically you're just kind of listening to wallpaper. The songs are just kind of bland, and while you might enjoy listening to them at the moment, the second the album stops, you probably wouldn't be able to hum any of the tunes on it. That's not really the case on this album. There are still some good catchy melody lines, there's some good hooks, there's some good stuff like that, but nothing quite on the level of their first two albums. Overall though, I'd still give this album 3 out of 5. Despite mellowing out and playing it relatively safe, the band still manages to write some pretty solid pop rock tunes. And before the naysayers come in and say that I expect every album from every artist to sound the same, that's not the case. I'm okay with experimentation. I'm okay with growth and maturity from album to album. So I don't necessarily disagree with the direction this band is trying to go. Adding piano might end up being a very good idea, a very good move for them in the long run. It's just right now, throwing it in the mix and whatever decisions were made concerning the mix overall of this album just don't seem to be doing it for me quite as well as their first two albums. I hope things kind of take a bit of an uptick after this, but for now this is honestly for me the weakest album in their discography. Not bad, just the weakest. But that's going to do it for this round of Continuous Thunder. Now I'd like to know your thoughts. Did you listen to this album? Did you like it? Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? You can go ahead and leave those thoughts down in the comments. You can also leave suggestions for the next thing that I should review. Quick reminder that you can follow this channel on Twitter at CT Music Review. That link is going to be down in the description. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.